Hello and welcome to Woodworking Wisdom. So first of all, yes, this is meant to be live. We've got those gizmos again, so we're a little bit sorry that things aren't going out. It's becoming a bit of an issue. We're looking into it, I promise. Likewise, if you sent us an email lately and we haven't replied, it's something to do with the same thing, so we're looking into this, okay? So if you have sent us an email and haven't replied, we're very sorry. We will try, maybe if you can resend it, might get it through this time, but we are looking into these things, okay? So today is really about Best of British because it's coronation weekend, okay? So a big event in London this weekend, so we're trying to look at Best of British tools. Now something I suppose me and Colin, I've got Colin in here with me, always been associated with is turning tools. We've grown up over the last, 38 years I've played with my lathe, we're playing with turning tools. Colin, similar time span. We've grown up with a few companies that we know really well. We've developed stuff with them. So Best of British for us is definitely our turning tools. All right. Both of the manufacturers we're going to look at that we sell, Crown and Henry Taylor, are both based in Sheffield, which is the original steel city. All right. Since 1268, they have a history of producing stuff in steel. That's quite an achievement to be able to go back that far. The location of Sheffield is weird because it's in the Peak District. It hasn't got good transport links, even if you go back for the last 200 years. There wasn't a railway line linking it directly to certain places. There definitely wasn't a canal. So why was Sheffield so popular for what it was doing? It had a good abundant supply of coal in the local hills, iron ore, millstone, so you could make grinding wheels, clay, that was part of the millstone thing as well, and 7 rivers converged, so it has a fast flowing water source. So therefore those water sources became the power for the factories. Lots of water wheels. As much as this is the Industrial Revolution, and yes, you had steam power, water wheel was so important, okay? Sheffield has reflected on everybody's life that is watching this video. Really? So how? It was the first place to develop silver plate. That was in 1743, so everything you ate up until 1912 would have been silver plated to stop it rusting. In 1912, someone in Sheffield developed stainless steel. Okay, that's, again, another historic thing really. Stainless steel, without that, up to this stage, wow. 1871, there was 3 times the import, into the USA of railway track that they could produce at home. Brooklyn Bridge is made from Sheffield steel, which, again, quite an historic achievement in that aspect, that all those things. 1882, Robert Hatfield developed the first manganese steel, which had tough impact resistance. We know it probably more, I suppose, these days as high carbon steel. The first source of HSS was developed by a guy called Robert Forrester in Sheffield. So has that steep history of doing those tools. That gives you a brief little look at what Sheffield's responsible for from my point of view and that background. So the 2 companies we deal with, Crown and Henry Taylor, where did they start, what they got going? So we're going to do Henry Taylor first because it's the first one there, okay? It started in 1834. It's 150 plus years old. Oh, wow. So he developed handmade quality hand tools. Crown is a family-owned business established over 50 years ago. It does a mixture of quality hand tools, and I'm not just talking turning tools, we're also talking marking gauges, things like that. Both use a mixture of traditional and modern techniques. So traditional grinding and forging methods using hammers, beaters, right, all that sort of thing, as well as modern techniques. Now the modern bit's really important because they can control the heat treatment and give you other things that we're going to look at a little bit, okay? So, next little bit. Both those factories are very hands-on. You would all consider it CNC done. No. We wish. I'm going to bounce a few things off you there. So a couple of things I'm just going to flip round. A few things we look at, and I'm going to go to a couple of things me and Colin were quite responsible for. We do our basic set of wood turning tools with our logo on, look, okay? So I expect Colin could just flash around. We've got the logo we done the overhead. Now, up to 5-6 years ago, maybe a little bit further back, we used to import a Chinese set of turning tools. And me and Colin weren't always impressed by the quality of these. So we looked up and said, could we have an English-made set? First of all, they're near at home. We can control the quality. We get a better quality control. We ended up with a better product. So our basic wood turning tools. Now I'm just going to grab that. Let me just turn around. I'm going to grab same size bowl gouge. Give you a few instances of where things vary. I think let's have a quick look on the main one just a minute, Cole, and let's just go to really handle length and things, all right? Blade length, a little bit shorter. Handle length is a little bit shorter. Now, I said basic set. So the basic set really is aimed at someone that's new, beginners. If you've got a small benchtop blade, big massive handle, not always great. So handle size can be important. We didn't want something massively big. Likewise, chisel blade length, a little bit shorter. What does that mean? Cheaper to manufacture. That's one thing. But also the fact most benchtop blades are restricted on space. You're doing mainly spindle work when you start. Yes, you get a bowl gouge. So there are things there, right? These are a standard M2 high-speed steel tool. Okay? The bowl gouge. And occasionally we get a few comments for, let me just have a look on the overhead. I think this actually has quite a short flute. What does that mean? Okay, it's got shorter shelf life, if you like, of what you're going to do when you're grinding it, you're wearing it down. That's disadvantage. Major benefit for you. This will chatter less and vibrate less. It's a stronger tool as well. So actually when you're new to this, that's quite an important part. Stainless steel ferrules on these, that's split resistant, so they will last longer again. Nice shape beach handle. Okay? So we really got involved in the development of those. So basic tools, if you were just starting off, fantastic to go with. Just put them back out the way. Just going to get different gouge down. Premium range we do. Again, this is an M2 high-speed steel. Very similar to what we just looked at. Definitely much bigger handle, longer flute length. Sorry, let's get into there. Look. All right, so we can see definitely a much longer blade length. All right, different shape handle and longer. So the minute you go bowl gouge work, you want that longer handle, bit more strength, bit more leverage, all becomes a part of it. And like I say, that's an M2 high-speed steel. I'm going to try and explain the steels a little bit for you as well. That's such an important part. So at the moment, we've just looked at M2. Now, when I started, when Colwyn started, high-speed steel as M2 was really just coming onto the market. At that stage, what was there? We used to have carbon steel. All right, I've still got some carbon steel tools at home. I know Colwyn has. They actually take a little bit more sharpening. They will lose that edge quicker. You can sharpen it to a nice edge, but doesn't hold that edge. So M2 was a step up. It will actually last 6 times longer than a standard high carbon steel tool. Okay, just going to flip back round and put the Premier one out of the way. If I can get back in there. And again, tried to pick out some bowl gouges really just to think. So Henry Taylor do a range of tools. Now they make different manufacturers of steel. So we've got M2, we've just looked at. They will do a cryo. They also do an M42. All right, we don't stock all of these, but they do a range of different tools. So there's different steels in there again. Henry Taylor also did and helped develop with, I'm trying to think of the guy's name, I'll find it in a minute, all right? They developed different flute shapes, all right? So if you look down a bowl gouge flute and you're looking at the end section, quite amazing to see what you get. This is a standard flute, had a traditional U-shaped section. They also did a super flute, which is more V-shape. The super flute's probably more user-friendly for most of us. It also helps clear the chips, get that waste out of the way quicker, and is more controllable, okay? So, we're up to there a minute. We're up to a standard M2. So Crown also do, which has a silver ferrule, okay? An M2, right, which is cryogenically treated. You're getting confused yet? And I can't imagine coming into this as a new person and trying to figure out what we could have as steel, okay? So you can have an M2, a cryogenic M2, you've got, oh my God. So if you're new to this, I'm trying to think where you start. When my time when I started, 2 steels, one was harder than the other, made it easy, okay? So cryogenically treated stuff. This is M2 high-speed steel. It's heat treated. What does that mean? Now, this is heat treated. We all think they heat it up. No, they cool it down to minus 185 to 195 Celsius. Pretty cool. They use liquid nitrogen. What does that actually do? It changes the molecule structure of the tool steel. So the carbon atoms in this are reduced to a smaller size. It makes them stronger. They hold actually the hard carbides around the steel. So actually it will stay sharp longer. All right. So harder wearing than a standard. Okay. Standard M2 has a Rockwell hardness of about 64. Right? As I said, this is 6 times better than standard high-speed steel. If you cryogenically treat it, it's 2 times better again. So 12 times better than standard carbon steel, okay? Getting confusing, isn't it? M42, all right, is the next step up, okay? That has a copper colour. Again, this is something relatively new. And I mean, from my point of view, within the last 5 or 6 years, M42 has really come in. So this has a higher cobalt content. So again, it is harder wearing. It will hold its edge much longer, all right? So again, you're getting different steels. Again, they can cryogenically treat this. So you're getting that hardness and that structure. So this is about actually more times turning, but less time sharpening. Downside, and I did look the other day, it's quite interesting, you can go from a standard bowl gouge from 40 quid to £120. Is there a difference? Yes, on how it will hold its edge. If you're new to this and you're going to think about, I'm going to throw another thing in a minute, which is the sharpening, you can damage tools quite quickly or not get the best out of them. All right, so standard tools, if you're new, budget set will get you up and going. It'll give you something to practice your sharpening on, get your results. As you grow, yes, you can buy expensive more. Okay, a box set is 6, £140. That's quite a good price for 6 tools. £25 each and a little bit of change. That's quick, wouldn't it? Okay, this thing, it's almost that price. So think about what you're trying to buy. Okay, if you're new to, it can be worth buying a budget set of tools, get you up and going. So M42. Copper colour, all right, harder wearing. And like I said, I know Henry Taylor do different tools, all right, as an M42, they ship them around the world. Last one I'm going to show you is a different material we don't stock, but I know I've had questions about this in the past. I've even got one that, all right, PMV. So this is, let's just do the label, I think, all right, one of my favourite materials years ago, which is a powder metal, all right. So Crown did this. This is still available, but it's quite an expensive thing. So this is a bar, is sinterated, so it takes a fine metal powder. It's forced under high pressure and heat to form a solid bar. So they actually start with that fine granular structure. They can control the edge shape, the particle size, and everything else a lot better. So this has great edge retention, but it's more expensive to manufacture. So PMV, it was really popular 10, 12 years ago, but seems to have dropped off a little bit. M42 has definitely really taken over, okay? So, last thing some of you are going to go, about carbide. All right? Carbide tip. Now, all I've got on my bit of paper I'm trying to read opposite here is carbide tipped. The guys that have been watching me on this, I haven't done anything carbide. I've got out of it somehow. I've got something going to do something in a few weeks' time where I've got something I do use that does have a carbide tip, but not like we've got now. If any of you bought our range of carbide stuff that we did with Crown, they manufactured this purely for us. So we had rectangular block, side cutout, negative type rake type cutter, but very unique. Okay, so we developed that with them. They came up with 3 tools. Why? At that point, we were trying to think of a range of something that's a tungsten carbide type tip. It'll be harder wearing. The benefit from people, if you're getting into this, it's easier to sharpen. I look at it and I can, but there's less skill involved. Not always. And then they can have specific uses. If you start getting into epoxy or things like that, or really, really dense materials, this can possibly be the way to go. There's certain materials I've got at home that I get a bowl gouge out and I put the piece of wood on, I go back to the grinder. I used to have a friend who used to go through 14 gouges a year, churning beautiful shaped bowls, but 14 gouges? Wow. He just used to leave the bench grinder running at certain stages and just literally do a couple of passes to resharpen. So that's a standard high-speed steel. M42, yes, is going to last a lot longer. So carbide tip definitely does have a place. Okay. All right, so we said about flute-wise, I've got my Henry Taylor gouge up on here. I said it has that U shape, all right? Roy Child was the guy behind and developed it. He came up with a more V shape. And the best way you can look at this, and most of the gouges, the Henry Taylor is classed as a super flute. If it's a traditional gouge, it'll have a U shape. Everything else I've looked at on the crown behind me that we've gone through has that V shape, all right? A parabolic shaped flute, all right? So it's even got a specific name, okay? Henry Taylor class it as a super flute, all right? So that's worth knowing on what shape gouge flute you are after. The V shape has definitely become the more common and easier to use and set up and sharpen. Now, it's a jib out sharpener. We've gone through a whole range of steels there. From carbon steel, which is actually really soft. You get a bright coloured spark with sharpening on a bench grinder. Fantastic. Things like the P&V. Yes, I can sharpen on a bench grinder, but actually it's really hard and quite hard wearing. What does that do? It actually wears my wheel away quite rapidly. I put a depressed line in that wheel if I'm sharpening in the same place. So CBM wheels have come on lately. Fantastic for doing those harder metals. They stay flat, they keep their shape, they'll take a minimal amount away, produce less heat. So if you get into expensive materials, as in M42, cryogenic, can be worth looking at what you're sharpening on. Think about that bit as well. Okay, so giving you a bit of history of those companies, we've looked at range of materials that they both produce. Okay, that's quite an interesting thing, that how tool steels have developed, and definitely after the last 15 years, it's amazing how things have come on. Go look at some interesting and unique things maybe that they do between them. One of my favourite things, and the guys that know when I travel, I use double-ended gouges. Why? There's nothing worse than being at a demo and you have an hour and a half session, you've got a couple of gouges. Nice to have a little bit of spare. So double-ended can be fantastic. So again, we've dealt with these. We've set up people and done double-ended gouge. The joy from my point of view, first of all, 2 lives, so I could have different sharpening either end, different angles, so I can accommodate that. That's really important. Obviously, we then started doing things here. We did interlock handle. So this has collet system. I love the fact that I can pack everything, if I undo it a bit more, back out the way of it. Makes it more compact to travel with, but easier to do. So double-ended gouges are really important. Crown do this. I actually really like this. I've used one of these at home occasionally. This is a Revolutions tool. This has a hollowing tip. So let's see if we can get you in just a little bit closer on that overhead. This has a few other accessories, but I couldn't find them today. So this actually, we can move about. If I can undo it, we can, a bit more. All right, got one. Let me undo the other because I expect I'm getting tension off the 2. So I can move this to any position. I can bolt in extras. If I'm going to undercut, I want to look at where it is. I want to take the worst out first before I start undercutting. The minute I undercut, remember you're going to get that twist that wants to push this down, rotate it. So start with it straight, can be good before you add any more links. All right, this will also have a scraper type tip you can put into this. The cutting tip, a little bit unusual. This has a guard. Just tighten that up or I'm going to fight against it and wiggle it about. And like I said, very unique on its thing. There's lots of different hollowing tools on the market. So all we're doing on here, we're taking off that cover. Now if I pick this up, this has a cutter. I think you can see that nicely, look. Okay. It also has this little brass cover. This has a hollow in the top, almost like a negative rake thing. I've had people say, is this the cutter? No, this is actually your guard. This is almost your bevel. The other bit I've just picked up is a cone-shaped piece of brass that fits in underneath. Let's just put them back together. And again, like I said, something quite unique and important. When you put it back together, you get nice and tight. On the cover, I can move it forward and back. I think you can probably see that wiggling about. That looks good. So I can adjust how much cut I take. If I have it too far back, it is really aggressive. All right. So I've got a gap down the front. So I want to bring it forward. Get there now. The cutting tip is actually higher than the little brass ring. I get people go, but there's no gap. No, this is about deflecting the shaving when it's cut off the top, curls it away. So you don't need a lot of gap with this. To sharpen, diamond file around the front edge. So you need to take the cover off. Personally, step away from your wood lathe when you do this and go somewhere where there aren't any shavings. So if you drop the little brass bit on the floor, you know you're going to find it. Then diamond file that front edge. Don't go using your grinder on this. You're going to wear it out rapidly, okay? Obviously, you can get spare cutters. You can get scraper tips that fit into this, but quite a unique tool. There's a guy that me and Colin both know, a guy called Mark Sanger, done loads of work with this and does some beautiful hollow pots with deep undercuts. Amazing book he put out there as well, so good to look at, right? But that's quite a unique tool. You can have it with handle. You can have it unhandled, so it fit in a collet system, the different ways of it. So that's quite unique. Right, let's just bounce into something we've kind of already looked at. One of my favourite tools, small bowl gouge. Okay, so Bert Marsh used to go through 14 of these a year. This is super flute, so V. The reason I love this, that handle, I'm going to be nasty now in ways. I'm going to compare handle sizes. All right, so something that's bigger and bulkier, is it better? Do I need extra length or diameter to grip it nicely? Now, come on, can we just go main camera just a sec? When I grip this, I almost hold the wide part of that handle, the palm of my hand. I can get it under my wrist. That's my support. Definitely for my boxes or my more refined bowls, that's a great way of holding right up there. I strangle the handle. I don't need this back here. In fact, that's increasing my leverage back to my elbow. If I hold here, it bounces. This I love the handle shape for this side bowl gouge as a 1/4 inch because it feels balanced in my hand, nice and easy to hold. I haven't got big hands though. If you've got bigger hands, you're going to find that, okay? Slightly bigger gouge, I find it a bit heavy for me, but that's personal. So what I'm getting at, and think about when you go and buy something, can you pick it up, can you hold it, see what it grips like? That can be important. If I'm doing a bowl and I want to use this and I need more leverage, fair enough, I'll hold right at the back. But for things like my boxes, I love that shape. All right, just a little bit smaller and lighter, so things I can throw in that make it a bit more personal maybe. Okay, back to interchangeable handle stuff. We did, and this was something we developed, we wanted a small set of tools, be it carbide. All right, so we got our handle, we can have, I was shocked, I didn't think we did this handle anymore. This is stainless, it's a great weight, okay. We also do an aluminum or aluminium one for those guys at different places, okay. So everything though quite quick and interchangeable, so we can have carbide, we can have small gouge I've got in here. Well, the beauty of this, again, quite compact, small chisel roll, fantastic to travel with. I've got numerous different shapes of cutters, some of these are double-ended, great to use, okay. Again, these will be a cryogenic high-speed steel, M2 from what I can remember, all right. Different gouges, parting tool, but if you wanted something that's smaller, you can move about. Look at that, isn't that lovely? And lighter to carry about, or if you're doing miniature work, gives you the scope of something that's a bit smaller. Odd thing now, I don't know how when I started I ever managed to grind stuff or sharpen stuff and produce a shape. When I started here, I can't remember how I ever became efficient on sharpening. And it'd be lovely to have a serious chat with Colin and kind of go, yeah, how did we ever get to where we are? And 9 times out of 10 when we meet people, the biggest problem they have is sharpening. But when you're new to this, and you buy that nice new bowl gouge, and it comes with a factory square grind, because they don't know what shape you want to do with it. I know there are people that struggle with certain things because they can't sharpen the tools. Now, I've gone back through this many times with the guys when we've watched the videos that the tool sharpening is so important. Henry Taylor makes something which is called Profile Pro. They deal with this with woodcut as well. So woodcut buy these in. There's a lovely little sheet on here. It tells you which of the 3 you have, what the profiles are. They have an independent number if you wanted to repeat them and get more. But these have a ground set shape for you. So this is actually a guide, if you like, something that you can look at and go, well, actually, I want a 55-degree bevel. It's going to be that shape. It tells you what they are, an Irish grind, a long grind. You put this into your grinding jig, or even your freehand, if you like, and you can look at where you've got to move around your wheel. But they give you a good setup guide. They're not heat treated, so they're soft as steel. But they've got those different profile shapes, all right? So Profile Pro is something that's a bit unusual. And again, something steeper, bottom feeder gouge, Ellswood style grind on the front, so long Irish grind. So there are different things there, but they were something that's a bit weird and wonderful. I can remember talking to the guy who used to own Henry Taylor 10, 12 years ago, and he said, I've come up with something as a guide so people have got an idea of what we're looking at when trying to sharpen. There you go. So something different to throw in. Let's go back up to crown then. Something a bit different. So, I said to you they've got really involved with certain people over the years. Okay, crown deal with David Ellsworth. Deal with a guy, Colin Way. All right, so Colin's got his skews, got 3 sizes. These are cryogenically treated. Quite an interesting thing because they actually have a taper section from ferrule down to the tip, so it's thicker, a little bit thinner coming down. You obviously get your taper across the width. All right, really useful, beautiful tools. These are what I would class as almost a continental style skew chisel. I think they're very German orientated. Really nice to use. All right, no sharp corners, glide along the rest. All right, so lots of you have already seen those on the vids. All right, so Colwyn got really involved with crown. I mean, this was months of work back and forward of trying to get things right. So crown one, I'm going to give you something totally different, something unique. And these are things that me and Cole would have used over the years. I love. All right, decorating elf. Such a simple idea. This was developed by a guy in the States. This has interchangeable tips. These are basically a Dremel cutter. So we've got round one, or bud or ball. Square one, there's a bud shaped one. When it came out, very unique. It's got bearings, it has a small magnet down the back. So all these little things really added up. Nice shape handle. I came out with the handle shape for this, believe it or not. I was asked by the guy who owned Henry Taylor at that time, can I come up with a handle shape that felt comfortable? Not too big, not too heavy. All right, so that's something very unique as a texturing tool. But really beautiful to use. All right, and that's not from a personal point of view. That's something that I wanted something that's nice and small, easy to grip. Interchangeable, take them out. So something is a texturing thing. Let's go back to crown. We said about carbide stuff. Little probes. So something that will do an undercut, straight one. Again, these are great to use. You also can actually roll them a little bit. So I love bringing this on the side, gently bring it up, find my cut, try and control how much I'm taking. All right. Definitely need something as a handle. So our collet handle we had, knocking everything off the bench. I think it will fit back in. If I undo my collet a bit more, I might need separate collet. So let's go for the collet as well, because we haven't shown you that. Had a query last week actually from a guy. How do you take these out? There you go. So clip in place. If I move it over, comes out. These are a standard engineering type collet. I expect this will need to be 1/2 inch. So it's no, okay. There you go. Look into there. So we can tighten that up. Again, if you were thinking of storing it, you could turn it round. So that will protect it in case you drop it on the floor. Okay, so something as a carbide tip for the probe can be really good. They have taper section, even on the small one you probably still see on the bench. Look, so taper down, this tapers in. Beautiful little things. And I'm going to get the idea of scale wise, quite small. I'm going to blow my own trumpet a bit now. My skew, bit of a weird one. I never realised with this, and this was from a conversation. First of all, this is a little bit thicker than a standard oval skew. Why no handle? Lighter to hold. It's as simple as that. I like using this one-handed. I have isometric grinds. It's curved on the back, hollow on the top. I can produce a micro burr. This starts off when it goes into the factory. How? What would you assume? An oval section piece of bar, you just cut them to length, heat treat it and whack it on the packet and off it goes? No. This starts off as a rectangular block and is hand ground to the profile. You've got to be kidding me. So there's a man who sits on a grinding wheel or a linear moving it up and down, produces this lovely shape. Wow. So that's quite a weird thing. I would always assume they were just literally a bar. Okay? When you start looking into how things are made, you're suddenly going, okay, bit of a shock. Ring tool. Again, there's a few other manufacturers, but Crown seem to make some beautiful ring tools. Okay, I know Colin did a good video on this. One question regularly get asked: how do you sharpen it? Okay, couple of ways. Let's do a quick one on here. We can go diamond card on the outside edges. You've got a bevel, you'd be better off almost coming round it. All right, and it is tricky. You have an internal and external shape on this. So you have a flat coming down. On the top one occasion, I will use coned sharpening. This is diamond grit. This is something we do actually Veritas make for mortise chisels. So that'll go in my cordless drill. I can sharpen the inside edge. So that can be a good little tip for that. Don't need too much sharpening on it. You don't want to wear it away. Or diamond card is really the only other method. Okay. Oh, right, we've got that. Got there. Done the P. Better do these. Look, okay. My scrapers. Again, I did quite a lot of work with Henry Taylor over this, of getting the negative rate bit right, getting the angle right, long grind. You've seen me doing with the boxes, hollow grind on the top. And I think I've been through quite a few times on how you sharpen with diamond cards. So again, quite unique things to have. I was quite shocked to do and be asked with Henry Taylor, and this will give you the scope of what we got in here. Who do they have? So they do tools for a number of different people. Chris Stott, me and Colin will remember from years ago. He now lives in Spain. Ray Key, Richard Raffin, some Jason Breach guy, John Paul of Scotland, who is in France, Tracy Owen. So a whole range of different good names there where they've made tools for those people that have come to them and kind of said, I can make some tools with. Okay. Now, this, I know, not that exciting a session. Hopefully giving you a bit more idea of tool steel. Think about the fact if it's harder steel, what you're going to sharpen it on. That can be something. One of the weird things in this, like I said, is Best of British Coronation Week. I've travelled the world quite a bit, different places to play with a woodturning tool. And I'm always shocked that I find Crown, Henry Taylor, wherever I go, Australia, Alaska, the States, Iceland. Those names. It makes me feel quite proud going abroad and finding these English-based companies where I even know the guys that are owning it, working there. The guys that, Edward from Crown, I mean, we have regular conversations about certain things on how we make stuff. Paul from Henry Taylor, I talk to about, I suppose, my stuff. Can we develop other ideas? But really proud of the fact I'm seeing these manufacturers flourish around the world. Sheffield started producing tool steel, Henry Taylor, 1834. And they're still there at the forefront of pushing these tools around the world. All right, makes me proud of what we've got behind us and how we've supported them, they've supported us over the years. Hope you've enjoyed this session. As I said, I'm sorry it wasn't live. If you've got emails and stuff, I will watch the chat with you and stuff. If you've got emails about certain things, again, you can put them in the chat and we can catch up on that when we put this out. We will see you again Thursday. After this, we have Coronation Platter. That's a good one to watch, okay? And then we'll be back in next week again. All right, thanks for your time. Bye then.